self-service. Why are customers interested in it? Why do we attempt to provide self-service to our customers? Well, I think that there's a few components and a few reasons why, but probably the first and most notably is giving customers an alternate route or an alternate path in which they can tell you or let you be aware that they're having issues. If they need help, certainly we want our customers to be able to go to the self-service site and register that type of incident. And why is self-service preferred? Well, one, we have the luxury of creating a structured request or a structured form, and so that allows us to collect more specific, more detailed information about the issue that the customer might be having versus a simple email that notoriously might get sent in saying, my PC is broke, or I need help with this application. That doesn't provide a lot of detailed information. And so again, certainly customers come to self-service so that they can request help and allows us to have incidents. The other reason is knowledge. Knowledge is a key piece of the puzzle to making a self-service site successful. It's not something that you necessarily have to do day one, and in most cases I would recommend that it's not available to customers day one. But certainly as you develop your knowledge management processes, as you develop a knowledge base that is going to provide information and useful knowledge to your customers, then we want to make that available. And certainly it depends upon your industry and your customers. You know better than I whether they'll truly use the knowledge component. But it's always a good option to have available to the customers. And I stated earlier, it's not always something that you want to make available day one. And again, the reasoning behind that is that we want to make sure that there's useful knowledge there. Because if we advertise it as a means of getting answers and customers go to the self-service site and search the knowledge base and not get answers, not get good information, then they're going to lose confidence. And if they lose confidence, then you have a less chance of them ever coming back and seeing that repeat customer, at least from a self-service perspective. At that point, they're going to go back to their old ways of sending email. They're going to call into the service desk, and that certainly defeats the purpose in terms of call deflection of what self-service offers to organizations. The other reason that we make self-service available to our customers is so that there's this concept of a shopping experience. As a service provider, it's great if you have the ability to identify those services and make those services available on the self-service site so I can request access to those services or request changes to those services. So you might hear a lot of people talking about an Amazon-like experience, a shopping experience, where customers can, again, request those services or ask for changes to be made to those services. So that's certainly an element to self-service, and I'm proud to say that it is available with FootPrints. And we're going to be taking a look at some examples of how we can utilize the service catalog through the self-service site. So one of the ways of making that service catalog available and fulfilling that is with integration with tools like the FootPrints Asset Core. So FootPrints Asset Core and the FootPrints Service Core are very tightly integrated, and when customers go to that self-service site and view the service catalog, they might request services such as an application to be installed. Well, at that point, we'd have the ability to generate a ticket in FootPrints, and at that point, it may be submitted for approval. Once the request has been approved, if that is indeed required, at that point, we can execute what we refer to as operational rules in FootPrints Asset Core, and without having to involve any IT staff, we can then deploy the application. So once that application is deployed, at that point we have the ability to then generate reports and understand our compliance in relationship to software contracts that we might have. And so again, your self-service site becomes more than just simply a means of registering an incident, but we can automate the fulfillment of specific requests. And that is where organizations really begin to see a tremendous value and a return on their investment with tools like FootPrints. So again, this type of automation that you're seeing is only available with the FootPrints Service Core and Asset Core integration. You wouldn't get this through other utilities like Microsoft, SCCM, things of that nature. But certainly is something that you may want to investigate, especially if you already have the FootPrints Asset Core application. So, as I mentioned before, I don't want to spend a lot of time in a PowerPoint. I think the bulk of the time really should be spent looking at the self-service site and maybe give you some ideas of how you might configure the product for your environment. And again, the idea is that you're getting the most out of the self-service site and encouraging customers to utilize that. So, one moment while I share out my desktop. I don't have the integrated authentication enabled, but that is certainly something that you can enable with FootPrints. And at that point, it would not require the user to provide a username and password. So at this point, let's go ahead and log in. And I'm going to be logging in as Tom Brady. So once we log into the self-service site, immediately one of the things that you will notice is the global incident window. So this will appear at any point that there is a global incident that has been registered and the customer is not subscribed to one or all of them. Okay, so here you can see that there are a couple of issues, one of which is a file server, the other being a problem with Exchange. I'm not subscribed to any of these, but certainly if I do that, the value that the customer gets is that any updates that occur related to that global incident, they're informed of those. So at that point, an incident was registered and it was linked to that global incident, and here's the incident that was assigned to me. Now going back to the first page that you saw, and logging into the self-service site, and that's the service catalog. I should make the point that the FootPrints self-service site is very configurable, so you don't have to land on the service catalog, especially if you're not using it. You might land on the home page where at that point the user can see all of their requests, as well as any other queries that you may have pre-configured for them. So other options are active request, only seeing the active request, maybe those records that require my vote if I'm part of an approval process, that type of thing. So that's yet another home page that we have access to. The other option might be access to the knowledge base. So immediately we can send customers to the knowledge base before even attempting to register an incident. And another option that we have with the self-service configuration is that if we attempt to save an incident before, we can actually begin to or prompt the user to search the knowledge base first before registering that incident. So that's a nice feature. What I'd like to do is just take you through the scenario of registering a new incident, a new request. So let's say that I was having an issue with accessing the internet. I can still access FootPrints because I have my internal network connectivity, but if I were having a problem accessing the internet, one of two things might we might do. One of which is if we had templates that were predefined for that type of scenario, we could utilize that. I can't encourage you enough to use templates. These are a great way to reduce the effort as well as increase the accuracy when registering an incident for the customer. So again, if I were having a problem with maybe a VPN password issue, I could just apply that template, and the only thing I would need to do at that point is to simply select Save, and that record would be created and assigned to the appropriate team or individual. So utilizing templates are very helpful with making it very efficient for your customers. When I'm going to go back, let's go back and look at a manual process where we'll register an incident. So from here, the first thing I'd want to do is to title the incident. So let's say Internet Issue, and with that, my information is already pre-populated onto the form. Here again, we can customize the forms as needed. Also, you'll notice the attachments. So if I wanted to attach any supporting documentation, all I would have to do before saving the incident is select the attach file option, and then from there I can browse and find up to 3 files and attach those simultaneously. There is a size restriction, but that is something that is configurable based upon your needs for the organization. And you're not limited to any type of file. Obviously, to open up the file, you'd have to have the appropriate application that supports that. When the customer registers the incident detail, this is where they would provide some more information. So I am getting an error code from firewall. Now, notice here in the incident details, when the customer is typing this detail, they have a host of options. They can copy and paste. Another nice feature is if we had captured a screenshot without having to save it as a file and then attach it as a file, I could simply paste the image from my clipboard. So that's a nice feature. Or if I had saved that screenshot as an image, I can also post that. So a single click allows me to post any type of images or screen captures or anything that's on the clipboard that we have. Also, in terms of incident information, well, this is not a required field, but certainly it might be. And again, this is your discretion as to how much you want to require of your customer. But if we were having an issue with a failure, we'd indicate it, and then from there we're getting prompt for other fields that are relevant. So this failure, is it related to hardware, network, printer, software? And again, this is totally your discretion as to how you want to configure this. But in this case, we're having a network issue. The other thing is the subcategory. Notice how the fields appear and are relevant based upon the preceding field. So at this point, if I were having a problem where I can't connect to the internet, I might select that. Notice the image that appears, and then at that point, we're prompting the self-service user for more information. Is the network, cable plugged in? Yes, no, and then that is all useful information that the technician has at their hands right when they receive the request. They don't have to play the game of calling the customer back, getting their voicemail, leaving that voicemail, waiting for the customer reply. The whole idea is that we capture as much information as we possibly can on the offset or on the onset of submitting this request, and with that, that's useful information that we can begin to use.